It's about time we had the eldest son take over the company. You'll just remain a regular employee, right? At my mother-in-law's sudden words, I almost dropped the invoice I was holding. This is the jewelry shop run by my mother-in-law, Julie. I've supported this store for 23 years. Even after my husband, her younger son, passed away, I raised my son alone while managing the store single-handedly. Purchasing, design, customer service, accounting, staff management, I did it all. And yet, this is her assessment of me. When the eldest son becomes president, you can just work behind the scenes. Your salary can stay the same. We're family, after all. She sipped her tea elegantly, smiling, looking genuinely pleased. Julie, what exactly do you mean by that? I mean, you should just keep supporting the store. Leave the difficult management stuff to my son. You just handle the day-to-day operations. But Julie, Dan doesn't know anything about the shop, does he? Oh, he'll learn as he goes. Besides, the family business goes to the eldest son. That's how it's always been decided. In that instant, something inside me snapped. To her, I was just a convenient worker bee. No matter how hard I worked these past 23 years, I was never once thanked. Instead, I was forced to accept low wages because we're family. I was treated like a disposable pawn. I had reached my limit. I stood up quietly and said, "Understood. I quit, effective today." Her smile froze instantly. Okay, now the real show begins. I'm going to watch right to the end to see what happens to you all. My name is Lindsay Miller, 45 years old. I've worked for 23 years at Julie's Fine Jewelry, the shop run by my mother-in-law. Right after graduating high school, I married my then-boyfriend Mark. I started at this shop at the young age of 20. My mother-in-law welcomed me warmly, saying we were family. She was genuinely kind at first. Lindsay, you'll support our store as family from now on, yes? Yes, Julie, I'll do my best working with you. I was happy in the beginning of my marriage. My husband was calm and gentle. Julie patiently taught me the job. I truly believed I was building my future with my new family and new workplace. But that happiness didn't last long. About 5 years after getting married, my son, David, was born. I was overjoyed back then. My husband and I planned to raise our little one and protect the shop together as a family. But 2 years later, my husband suddenly passed away. Overwhelmed with grief, I knew I had to live to protect young David. There was no time for tears. Lindsay, you still have this shop. You can work hard here in Mark's place. The day after my husband's funeral, Julie said that to me. Let's all support each other as a family from now on. I believed her words. Carrying the sorrow of losing my husband, I told myself that supporting the store would be my reason for living. However, after my husband's death, Julie's attitude gradually changed. Before, she treated me warmly because we were family. But slowly, she began treating me like a convenient worker. Still, I continued working for the store's sake. I learned about jewelry, got into design, and eventually handled almost everything: purchasing, management, customer service. At first, it was just office work, but my responsibilities gradually increased. When she found out I was good at design, I was made to participate in product development. When purchasing went well, I was entrusted with negotiations with suppliers. As store sales grew, I was next tasked with accounting and marketing. Despite all this, I was never made a full-time employee. Lindsay, you're family, so you get special treatment. That's what she said, but my pay was minimal. You don't need a title being family, right? That's what she said, so there were no promotions. Yet, my responsibilities kept piling up. She always pushed work onto me. This store wouldn't run without me. But no matter how hard I tried, she never acknowledged my efforts. Mornings at Julie's Fine Jewelry always began with me arriving earlier than anyone else. I unlock the door, turn on the lights, and the jewels sparkle in their cases. The brilliance of diamonds, the deep green of emeralds, the fiery red of rubies. No matter how many times I see this view, my heart still leaps. All right, let's have another great day today. Muttering to psych myself up, I immediately start checking the store. I check the product displays and record yesterday's sales in the ledger. I also have to check if the newly arrived jewelry pieces are displayed correctly. Normally, the owner would take charge of these tasks, but Julie does almost nothing. Her job is to occasionally visit the store, put on a refined smile, and chat with repeated customers. She's hardly involved in any other store operations. Oh, Lindsay, starting early again? You could afford to relax a bit more, you know. Julie, who strolled into the store slowly around 9:30 a.m., greeted me with a nonchalant look. Good morning, Julie. I've compiled yesterday's sales data for you to review. Handing her the documents, Julie glanced at them briefly and immediately put them on her desk. Well, as long as sales are stable, there's no problem. Lindsay, you really do such a good job. It's a great help. Thank you. But you know, since it's a family business, we don't need to be so obsessed with profits. Being too focused on money lacks class. I swallowed my words. Does she think I'm obsessed with money? A nasty feeling welled up inside me at her words. There's something she often says to me, like a catchphrase. Lindsay, you're family, so minimum wage is fine, right? But that minimum amount is clearly less than even other staff members earn. In 23 years, not a single raise, no bonuses. Since I handle the accounting, I see the store's entire financial situation. Business isn't struggling at all. In fact, sales have been steadily increasing since I started managing the finances. Despite this, only I continue to work for minimal pay. The person Julie dotes on is her eldest son, Dan, my brother-in-law. He's 48, unemployed, a playboy, drowning in debt, and a spendthrift. He has no knowledge of jewelry and no desire to work. Yet, she constantly defends and spoils Dan. Really, the eldest son should inherit the business. Lindsay, you just need to quietly support the store. Julie says it jokingly, laughing, but I can see the serious intent behind her words. Lindsay, lend me some money. I messed up again. I've heard that line countless times. Every time he tries to start a business, he fails and racks up more debt. He's fallen for investment scams. He's tried franchise management and suffered huge losses. Each time, Julie used store profits to pay off his debt. Is it really okay to record this money as a store expense? I wanted to ask many times. But I knew if I spoke up, she'd just retort, It's natural to help family. All I could do was stay silent and focus on the work in front of me. I cared about the store more than anyone. I designed jewelry tailored to customer preferences, incorporating trends. I negotiated with suppliers, securing quality gems while keeping purchase prices down. I trained employees, providing detailed guidance on customer service etiquette and sales strategies. I analyzed customer data and thought about how to increase repeat business. It's no exaggeration to say I poured all my energy into growing the store. Yet, to Julie, I was nothing more than a convenient laborer in the family business. Dan had the right to inherit the store simply because he was the eldest son. I was just someone forced to work. That sense of wrongness grew stronger day by day. That day, I was checking the store's books as usual. Sales were stable, but something felt off about the expense entries. Julie must have covered Dan's debts again. I sighed at the familiar, unnatural flow of money. I'd lost count of how many times this had happened. Still, as always, I said nothing about it and just continued my work silently. I'm the one supporting this store. That's why I have to keep it from collapsing. I had always told myself that. But that afternoon, a casual remark from Julie overturned my 23 years of dedication. Lindsay, could I have a word? As I was organizing the inventory list, Julie walked slowly into the back office. Yes, Julie? What is it? Usually, she'd give instructions about product placement or customer service, but today felt different. She wore a satisfied smile and seemed to be in a very good mood. You know, I'm thinking it's about time Dan inherited the company. For a moment, I couldn't comprehend what she said. Huh? It's best if the eldest son inherits, don't you think? Saying this, she elegantly sipped tea from the cup she held. What is she talking about? Julie, does that mean Dan will become president of this store? When I confirmed, she nodded without dropping her smile. Yes, he's the eldest son, so it's only natural, isn't it? Natural? My head was spinning. He knows nothing about this store. No knowledge of jewelry, no business know-how, zero. He has never even been involved with the store before. Julie, I'm sorry, but he knows nothing about running a business. I pointed this out as calmly as possible. Relationships with suppliers, customer-based needs, negotiations with vendors? There's so much to learn in management. Has he ever gained that kind of experience? She chuckled as if my words didn't even register. But honey, the family business goes to the eldest son. Isn't that just common sense, Lindsay? You've been a great help supporting the store until now, but really, it's best to have a man lead the store as president. I was speechless with shock and anger. Besides, Lindsay, she continued in a casual tone, smiling softly, you're fine just staying a regular employee, right? Those words definitely broke something inside me. For 23 years, I was the one who had supported every aspect of this store. The store's profits increased and supplier trust was earned, all because of my hard work. But your role is to support Dan. She stated this without a hint of doubt. In that moment, I understood. From the very beginning, I was just a pawn in the family business. I felt utterly hopeless. Something inside me screamed that I couldn't let this continue. I started handling the accounting a few years ago after my husband died. Originally, Julie managed the store's books. But one day she suddenly said, Lindsay, I'm putting you in charge of accounting from now on. Ostensibly, it was because she trusted me. The truth was likely that she just wanted to dump the tedious work on me. One month, while checking the expense ledger, I found clearly suspicious expenditures. Hold on a second. What are these payments? Normal store expenses include inventory costs, payroll, store maintenance, etc. But that month, there were obviously strange charges. Listed were high-end brand purchase, $3,000, hotel stay, $1,500, unknown transfer, $5,000. And it wasn't just once. Looking back at data from previous months, there were several similar questionable payments. I immediately asked Julie, Julie, what's this transfer for? Sipping her tea elegantly, she replied as if it were nothing. Oh, that's for Dan. What? He seems to be having a tough time lately, poor thing. So I just shifted a little money his way. Shifted money? But this is processed as a store expense. Yes, we're family, so helping each other is natural, isn't it? She showed no remorse. Instead, her face seemed to ask, what are you so surprised about? He had a business failure, so things are a bit tight right now. But he's the eldest son. He'll surely bounce back someday, so we should support him now. Support him? Who's we? But Julie, this money is coming from the store's revenue. For a second, she looked exasperated. Lindsay, don't worry too much about details. It's fine. We're family. I was stunned. I had worked so hard to grow the store. But in the end, those profits were just vanishing into Dan's debt. Julie, does Dan intend to bankrupt the store? When I asked timidly, she chuckled. Lindsay, that doesn't matter. He's the eldest son. He's bound to take over eventually. I couldn't understand it deep down. He has no jewelry knowledge, no management experience, and barely even shows up at the store. Could she really entrust the precious store to such a person? Later, I secretly looked into Dan's life. What I found was shocking. He was out partying at high-end clubs almost every night. He routinely bought luxury brand items. To top it off, he'd been scammed in an investment deal, increasing his debt even further. This was the reality of the son she was supporting. I felt intense anger. What am I working for? If all the revenue just gets wasted, what's the point? Julie, I'll ask again, is it really okay to record this money as a store expense? You're so persistent. Of course, it's fine. At that moment, I fully understood. These people wouldn't change. This store had no future. There was no need to say anything more. There was only one thing left for me to do. Quit this place. What happened to the store after that would be up to Julie and Dan. I started thinking, I'm done being exploited. Julie's fine jewelry was the store I had protected with all my might. I wanted it to be more than just a place to sell products. I wanted it to offer customers a special experience. That's why I focused on staff training. For customers, jewelry can be a once-in-a-lifetime important purchase, so let's not just sell. Let's offer service that connects with the customer's feelings. I told the staff this many times, and they truly embraced that sentiment. But Julie was different. To her, employees were just tools to run the store. Connecting with customer feelings? That's just fluff. What's important is how to get them to buy expensive items. She constantly imposed harsh sales quotas on the staff. Staff who failed to meet quotas faced merciless reprimands. What? 0 sales today? Do you think that's acceptable? You did your best? I don't care about that. It doesn't mean a thing unless you make sales. At first, the staff endured it. But gradually, more people reached their limit with her methods. The first to quit was Michelle, who had been with the company for 5 years. She boasted top-class sales performance as a salesperson and always had the trust of repeated customers. But she confided in me, I can't take it anymore. Hearing those words, I couldn't say anything. I had tried to improve the store to protect staff like her. But because of Julie's methods, truly talented people were leaving. At this rate, the store will collapse, I thought, and proposed something to Julie. Julie, if this continues, staff will keep quitting. If the quality of service drops, the store's reputation will suffer too, so let's reconsider the quota system. But she wouldn't even listen to the end. Lindsay, you're too soft. She laughed while slowly sipping her tea. If they want to quit, let them. There are plenty of replacements. Plenty of replacements? I was aghast. Julie, the staff are the ones supporting the store. Without them, the store can't function. It's not a problem as long as the motivated ones stay. But talented staff like Michelle are leaving. Talented? How is someone who can't meet quotas talented? She scoffed. Lindsay, it's because you spoil them that everyone loses their grit. I was lost for words. This woman never had any intention of valuing her employees from the start. After Michelle left, staff resignations followed one after another. Before leaving, they all said, Thank you for everything, Lindsay, but we just can't do this anymore, and left. They already knew the store had no future as long as Julie's reign continued. One day, I confronted her again directly. Julie, please stop pushing the staff so hard. But she didn't get angry. She just smiled like it was someone else's problem. This store is mine. I built this store, so anyone who can't follow my way can just leave. She genuinely believed that. At that moment, I realized clearly, talking to this person was pointless. If I stayed, I would be crushed too. And so, I finally made my decision. The time had come to leave this store. That day, I was carrying out my usual store duties. Staff numbers had decreased, but I managed to keep operations going somehow, collaborating with the remaining members. Checking accounts, arranging products, negotiating new jewelry purchases. I still handled all store operations myself. But something felt strange recently. Julie was smiling excessively. It was an eerie smile, like she was plotting something. I have a bad feeling about this. Lindsay, I need to talk to you for a bit. Around the time the afternoon rush subsided, Julie called me into the president's office. Yes, Julie? When I entered the room, she was in a good mood, drinking tea. Oh, perfect timing. I wanted to let you know too. Let me know about what? She gracefully put down her teacup and smiled broadly. I've decided to have Dan inherit the company. So it's finally here, I thought. I tried my best to respond calmly. I see. Thinking about the store, there was one thing I absolutely had to say. But Dan has no management experience. She shook her head, laughing. That doesn't matter, because he's the eldest son. Once he becomes president, you won't be needed. For a second, I doubted my ears. Excuse me? Well, the successor is decided, so there's no need for you to be here, right? She smiled as if she meant no harm. I appreciate everything you've done, but it's strange for her daughter-in-law to stay involved in management forever, don't you think? In that moment, something inside me crumbled. For 23 years, I had dedicated myself to this store. I was undeniably the one who had supported the store this far. And yet to Julie, I was nothing more than a convenient worker bee. Julie continued talking cheerfully. Of course, you don't have to quit immediately. There's a handover and things. It would be helpful if you could stay for about a month and properly support Dan. You've got to be kidding me. I clenched my fists tightly, but unleashing my anger was pointless. No matter how many words I used, they wouldn't get through to this person. I opened my mouth quietly. Understood. She smiled with satisfaction. I quit, effective today. You what? Her smile instantly froze. Wait a minute, Lindsay. What did you just say? I quit today. Thank you for everything. I stated it clearly. Wait, hold on. Her completely composed attitude suddenly shattered. I can't have you quitting so suddenly. What about the handover? It's not necessary, I replied calmly. I'm just a regular employee, remember? If I'm irrelevant to the change in presidency, then my quitting shouldn't cause any problems. She was at a loss for words. Now, if you'll excuse me. Saying that, I turned and left the president's office without looking back. Julie tried to say something else, but I wasn't listening anymore. My 23 years of dedication end here. I quietly left the store. This was the beginning of my new life.